So I'm going to go over the review for read, write, and compare decimals. So the first one, it says multiply by 10. So when we multiply, we're going to move the decimal to the right. When we divide, we're going to move the decimal to the left. So the first one, we start out with 8/100ths. And since you're multiplying by 10, you're going to move the decimal one place to the right. So the number is going to get bigger. It's going to be 8/10. And then we have 8/10. Multiply that by 10, so we're going to move it one more place to the right. And it becomes 8, which is already in there. 8 times 10 is 80. Or you can just start at 8, decimals there, move it one place to the right, and it becomes 80. Next, 80, one place to the right, 800. Next, when we divide by 10, now we're going to the left. So we have 9,000. The decimal place is after the last zero. We're going to move it one place to the left, so it's going to be 900. One more place, 90. 9 is up there. So we're at 9. We're going to divide that, so one place to the left becomes 0.9. At 0.9, we still need to move one place to the left when we divide it by another 10. So it's going to be 9/10 to 9/100ths. Okay. Next, we have the answer equals 8. We need to fill in the blank. So that means we need to do the inverse operation. So we need the answer to be 8 with the decimal after it. So we are going to, instead of multiply by 10, we're going to divide by 10. So we're going to move the decimal place to the left when we divide by 10. So we're going to get 0.8. So that's our answer. So we multiply that by 10. We move it to the right one, and our answer is 8. So 0.8 goes there. The next one we could probably do in our head. What times 10 equals 80? A lot of them knew that one already. They just put an 8 in there. If we didn't know that, we can start with 80, do the inverse operation, and we get 8. Okay. So next we have 8/10, and we're going to, the answer is 8/10, and we need to multiply it by 10 to get 8/10. So inverse operation. We're going to move it over one place to the left. So we just need to annex a 0 in there. So 8/100ths times 10 would be 8/10. Next, we start out with 8/100ths. That is the answer. So to get it, inverse operation, annex a 0, 8/1000ths. Next, 800 is the answer. We need to go divide by 10, inverse operation, and we get 80. And then you could always do the correct operation on the right side and see if it equals the answer on the left. Next, Noah lifts weights at the gym and he rounds the weights to the nearest whole number. Which of the weights rounds to 23 pounds? So when we round the first one, 22.8 whole number, we're going to look at our 10th place, the place value to the right. We notice it's a 5 or above. 5 or above, we increase the underlying number or the place value we're rounding to. So since it's an 8, we increase it. So 22 plus 1 is 23. So that one would work. Next, 23.501. We look at it. 5 or above, we increase. So it becomes 24. So that will not work. 22. We look at the 5. 5 or more, raise the score. 22 plus 1 is 23. That one will work. The next one, 22, we look at the 0. Not going to work. 23, look at the 0. It's going to stay the same. So if it does stay the same, it would be 23, so that one would work. 22, we look at the 1, it's not going to increase, so it's not going to work. 23, looking at another 0, so that one would work. Eli likes to run 5.5 miles each day. He rounds each day total to the nearest tenth of a mile. Decide if each mile total rounds to 5.5. Choose the answer if it rounds. So now we're just rounding to the nearest tenth, the same thing, but we're going to underline the tenth instead of the whole number. So we're going to look at this one. That one would go to 5.6. 5 or more raises score, so that would not work. 5 and 512 thousandths. We look at it. So it's not a 5 or above, so we stay the same. 5.5, so that one would work. 5.49 or 49 hundredths. 5 or more, yes, it is. So we increase, so it's 5.5. So that one would work. 5.539. Underline the tenths, look at the thousand, or hundredth, sorry. Hundredth is a 3, we stay the same, so it's 5.5. That one will work. Underline the tenths, look at the hundredths, stay the same because it's not a 5 or above. That one will work. 4.59. We're rounding to the nearest tenth. So that would be 4.6. Not enough. And we're rounding. So we can look at the last one too. Tenths. Look at it, increase it. So it's going to be 5, not 5 and 5/10. So that will not work. Write 1 million written as a power of 10. So one way to look at it, 10 to the second, or 10 times 10 would be 100. So I told them to look, there's a 2 in the exponent and 2 zeros. So if you know that one, you can always go back. If not, you can just count the zeros up there. So that'd be 10 to the 6, or 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So this one, we have 4 zeros. So 10 to the 4th. So on these, we have to write the missing power of 10. So on the letter A, I start there with my decimal place, and I need to end 90. The decimal on 90 is right after the 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 after my 9. So that's where it needs to be, is right there. So then I just need to see how many times I would move it. So if I multiply that by 10, 10 to the second, 10 to the third, 10 to the 4th power would go in there. Next one, 0.6, and I need to end at 6. So it's 1. So 10 to the 1st, or 10. I need to start at 0.8. I need to end at 800. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 800 up there. I need to end there. So I need to move it 1, 2, 3 times, 10 to the 3rd. 300ths, and I need to end at 3, so I need to end there. I need to multiply it by 1, by 2, so 10 squared. And my last one, 23 hundredths, and I need 23,000. So I need to stop right there. So I need to move my decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 to the 5th. Write the number in standard form on the line. So 23 and is my decimal place. So 23 and 34,000, or 24, excuse me, 24,000. So I need to end in the thousands place. So it goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So tenths, hundreds, thousands. So I need to end in the thousands. So I'm going to annex a 0 in there. So this would be the tenths, hundreds, thousands. 104 and decimal. So 3 thousandths. So tenths, hundreds, thousands. That's where my 3 goes. So I need to annex 2 zeros. 1,306. 1,306. There's no and. So I just write out the number. 1,306. 11 thousandths. There's a THS on the end. No and. So there's no whole number. So tenths, hundreds, thousandths. So I need to end in the third place value with 11. So I need to annex my 0 in the tenths. 34 and 9 hundredths. 34 decimal for the and, tenths, hundredths. So it's just 9. So I don't have any tenths. Decide if each expression represents the decimal 9 and 23 thousandths. Choose all that represent that. So the first one, 9 plus, so it's missing. That's 23 hundredths. I need 23 thousandths, so that is not going to work. The next one, if I added those together, line my decimals when I'm adding, that would work. So B is a good number. The same thing with number, or letter C. If I added those together, 9 decimal 0 2 hundredth 3 thousandth, that would work. This has a 2 in the 10th spot, so that's not going to be the same answer. 9 times 1 is 9, that's good. 2 times 100th would be 2 hundredths. 3 times 1,000 would be 3 thousandths. So that one would work. It's going to give me all the answers that are in C individually. And the last one is 2 tenths. So that one's going to be wrong. Next, fill in the blank with greater than, equal to, or less than to compare the numbers. So first, we compare the whole numbers, 4 and 4, so they're equal. 5 tenths or 0 tenths, so the 5 is greater. 23 is greater than 2. Just looking at the whole numbers. The whole numbers are the same here. 657 thousandths is the same, so equal. 63 and 2 tenths, 63 and 2 hundredths. So 63 is the same. We look at the 2 and the 0. We know the 2 is greater. We start here in the tenths. We both have tenths. 2 and 2 is the same. 3 and the hundredths is the same. 0 and the 0, so they're equal. We can annex zeros over here if we wanted to, but it's going to give us the same answer. 9 and the tenths equal. 5 is greater than 4 and the hundredths. And And the last one on this problem, 10 and 0 for whole numbers. We know that 10 is greater. Next, we need to furthest from shortest. So what I would do is write them right here. And what I'm also going to do is annex a 0 just to keep everything nice and lined up. So I have to start with the furthest, or if it's easier to start with the shortest, we'll just put the answer to the far right. So let's do that. I'm going to start there. So 6, since our whole numbers are all the same, I'm going with the lowest number in the tenths. So that would be the 0 down here. So I'm going to cross that one out and put it down here because it's furthest to shortest. So that would be my shortest. Next shortest would be looking at the tenths. And we have two of them have the 2. So we have to go to the hundredths. 4 and a 9. So I know my 4 is smaller than the 9. So that's going to go in there. And then my 9, 29 tenths, or hundredths, 6 and 29 hundredths would go in there next. So now let's work the other way. Let's go to the biggest. We have 7 in all the tenths left. So we go to the hundredths. The biggest hundredths place value would be the 9 because they all have sevenths. So now we're just looking in the hundredths. Maybe have to go to the thousands if we need to. So that is the furthest. Cross that one off. That's the only one that had a 9. So we can go down to 8. And then we have 2 left. And since they both have zeros in the tenths, or in the hundredths, 7 in the tenths, 0 in the hundredths, we got to go to the thousands. So the 1 in the thousands, that would be just a little bit further. And then the 6.7 would go there. Okay. So what I'd also probably do is erase, since the number up here are only written in tenths, some of them. So I would take the extra zeros that I annexed off. You don't have to do that. We'd still give you credit, but you can also do that. So next one, Samuel draws these models to show 5 tenths and 5 hundredths. Which equation represents the relationships between the numbers? So if we have 5 hundredths and we divide it by 10, so when you divide, you're going to get smaller. Move the decimal place to the left. So that would be 5 thousandths. So the top one's not going to be right. The next one, 0.5, 5 tenths divided by 100. So I need to move it twice to the left. So that would be 5 thousandths. That is not up there. So that's not going to be right. The next one, if we have 5 thousandths, we multiply it by 100, we would get 5. So that one's not right. When you multiply, you move to the right. The next one, we have 5 hundredths, multiply it by 10, and we get 5 tenths. So that one is correct. So what it's essentially saying, we have 5 hundredths over here, and if we take 10 of those, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 of them. Then you get 1/2 or 5 tenths. So that's it. I hope that helped you. If I were you, I'd probably take away the answers and try it again and see if I get all the correct answers. If not, hide the answers again and do it over. All right. Good luck.